I feel so guilty. I cannot tell you. I want to really thank Emily Jones. I drove her crazy. I think I drove you all crazy. I am absolutely delighted to be here. This is a very, very special evening. For Kodak, this is history. This is a transformative evening. I want to acknowledge the fact that it is not just the Lambda network that is here, but a number of networks, and that makes the overall fabric of Kodak very strong. And it would be one thing to just have your chief executive officer here, but you have a tremendous one. And his domestic partner, Anne, who have very excellent family values by being here. So I think you should note this for what it is, which is literally a transformative moment in the history of Kodak. You can probably only imagine, for those of you that are not gay and lesbian in the room, the collective courage that it took to plan this event and come to it, and imagine when all of that energy is unleashed on digital imaging and growth. I wanted to start personally because I think it's very important that as gay and lesbian people we share the latitude and longitude of our lives. And I'm one of those people that grew up, I was an American that grew up in Canada and in Europe. And it gave me a very unique perspective on this country. It gave me a deep love of the American Constitution and the civil rights and civil liberties and principles and values that are at the very heart and the core of this country. And I was literally one of those kids that sprung whole on the Canadian prairies as a little tiny lesbian. I simply was. I was acutely aware of it. When I was quite young, I felt very different. And uniquely, I felt enormously special. I felt like I was part of a wonderful, exciting, colorful, grand mutation in the universe. And I had a very active imagination. And I love it when people say, you know, I don't believe in the gay and lesbian lifestyle. And it's the equivalent of saying, you know, I don't believe in that daffodil, its lifestyle, because it's a slightly different color than the other flowers in the garden. Literally, I think we are a fascinating, fascinating and wonderful people. And to give you a sense of who I was, because a lot of people have wondered why someone would leave a superb corporate position at a Fortune 100 company to go head up a gay and lesbian group, the Human Rights Campaign Fund. I have to translate it for them by saying that I have always had an activist heart, but I'm definitely a capitalist tool. I believe that there are a number of CEOs in this country, and I suspect that George Fisher is one of them, and I know John Scully is one of them. John Scully is a personal hero for me. That something got stamped in their DNA, and I think it was coming through the 60s, being exposed to the civil rights movement, the women's movement, the gay and lesbian liberation movement, that their very being got influenced, stamped by those values. And although these are bottom line kind of men and women leading corporations, nevertheless, there's a value system that has gotten built in, and it is emerging in not just a cluster of companies in this country, but I think in many, many companies in this country. And I think what you will see as we kind of scream toward the 21st century is a new value system that takes the best of the left and the right. So people are very much fiscally sound and focused, run good operations, are very customer service oriented, but that they build workplaces where people can actually feel valued and do their very best. When domestic partner coverage got instituted at Apple Computer, it was completely transformative. I mean, people were in tears, and gay and lesbian employees at Apple had felt like they had a good home, but it was a very good final step. And there is nothing like igniting the kind of loyalty and commitment and productivity, and really creating a place where people can do their very, very best to deliver to the bottom line. I also, though, wanted to talk to you a little bit about how, although Apple, for example, and I worked with a number of corporations in my position as co-chair of the board of directors at the National Gay and Lesbian Task Force, which I held in parallel to my career at Apple. In fact, I went to the National Gay and Lesbian Task Force and Apple Computer in 1989, and the joke was that among the executives is that my secret goal was to turn Apple into the National Gay and Lesbian Task Force, and vice versa. But I wanted to just tell you a story that's to illustrate that this movement is not isolated in terms of the computer industry and the entertainment industry, and that in fact we are all on a path of kind of digital convergence, and it will all end up touching, all industries will touch each other going into the next century. And it is true that at a progressive company like Apple, things were very good, but for some it was still difficult. On my last day of work, I had an executive come into my office and sit down, and he said to me, he was someone I had worked with for 5 years, and he said, I just want to thank you for everything that you did, especially on gay issues. And I said, you're welcome. I mean, it's fine. I mean, I felt proud and privileged to be able to help. But he couldn't talk, and he stammered, and he was nearly in tears. And he sat in front of me, and I let him go for a while. It felt like an eternity. And finally I just said, are you gay? And he said, yes. And he said, I couldn't come out here. So I think that it's important for companies that are in places like upstate New York and not right on the coast in New York City or LA or San Francisco, to understand that being imprisoned in the closet can happen anywhere, and that leadership can come from smaller cities and the middle of the country for new industries and new companies. You should know that there is organizing going on just like you're doing here at Kodak all over the country, and my prediction is that we are going to see many companies in the next year or two institute new policies and domestic partner coverage, particularly in the Twin Cities at places like 3M. St. Paul, one of the largest insurance companies in the country, has already instituted it. And I have lists and data and so on. So what I wanted to say is that Kodak mirrors, Kodak is ahead in terms of most corporations in this country. And just by doing tonight, you've made a tremendous start. So I just want to let you know that, we're everywhere. We are at Kodak, but we're also, haven't you found this, even in rural communities, people say, I don't like the gay and lesbian lifestyle, but that Betty down at the bakery, she's okay. And we really like Ellen, her girlfriend. But there are lesbians. I mean, the ones out there we don't like. So I just want to leave you with, there is enormous hope in this country, and I only expect it to get better. It's going to be rough times ahead in Congress. We shouldn't have any illusions or be naive. There are going to be huge battles in Congress. But at the heart of the country, we're in good hands. So thank you very much.